Early today, trade unionists protested in front of the headquarters of the Polish energy group. The demonstrators opposed the closure of coal-fired power plants, including the Rybnik, Dolna Odra and Łasiska power plants. The union submitted a petition to the PGE authorities and tried to do the same at the Ministry of State Assets. We came here to protest against the Green Deal, so that it simply won't go into effect, so that jobs in mining, energy and industry won't be lost. Of course we are concerned about our jobs. The next thing is, if the elections are not won by a democratic candidate, if the President of Poland is not a Pole who looks after our interests, then I don't know what will happen. Citizens' presidential candidate Dr. Karol Nawrocki addressed people at the protests. I, of course, support the demands of trade unionists, who are alarmed by the loss of jobs in the energy sector, are also alarmed by the implementation of the Green Deal. The issue is the closure of coal mines, which entails the loss of thousands of jobs and tragedies for Polish families. The protesters tried to talk to PGE management. They, however, sent their delegate. But there is no one from the board. But where is the board if it knew there would be such a protest? As Donald Tusk's government shoots at the heart of the energy industry, at the same time, Germany is developing mining at home. We know this very well, that weakening the Polish economy is in the interest of our Western neighbours, because climate policy from the beginning was not a fight for a clean climate, it's business and politics. So why doesn't Donald Tusk's government follow the example of our Western neighbours? We are simply ruled by economic barbarians who either can't do maths or follow all those recommendations that the European Commission, or rather Germany, desires. The idea is that there should be no energy in Poland. Trade unionists have no doubt. We know that what Donald Tusk failed to do in 2015, which is to make JSW unprofitable, at the moment the same thing is happening as in 2015. As you can see from today's protests, there is no agreement on such actions. We oppose what is happening in Poland, for them to close down plants. We don't like it. One more thing is important. Let someone imagine what their life would be like if there is no electricity for 2 days, and such things are possible. If they close coal-fired power plants this year, these cannot be replaced. The shift away from coal power is a loss for the entire Polish economy, but also for local communities. No one is against environmental protection, but regulations imposed by Brussels could ruin Poland's energy sovereignty.
The NATO fleet is stepping up patrols in the Baltic Sea. This is in response to acts of sabotage by both China and Russia in recent months. The latest incident, involving a ship detained by the Finnish Coast Guard, is still under investigation. According to the latest findings, an anchor was found being dragged along the seabed by the Russian vessel. This is primarily a demonstration of NATO's strength and capabilities. NATO forces are entering the Baltic Sea in response to attacks on member states' underwater infrastructure.
Russia certainly poses a threat to the entire Euro-Atlantic alliance, so therefore we need to cooperate very closely in finding solutions to this.
Finland is currently conducting an official investigation. For the first time, it has all the evidence on hand. The ship, which was detained in December after apparently cutting undersea telecommunications cables, has been towed to a Finnish port. The question of how to prevent possible new incidents and other similar cases is under extensive administrative investigation, and these cases are being investigated. The problem is maritime law, which does not take into account modern threats or the sophisticated methods of naval warfare being used, which are carried out with the use of commercial vessels. Faced with this, the only quick option was to make a forceful response. This is a demonstration of the capability of joint operations. If we add to that submarines that can observe in a very discreet way, monitor key areas, and possibly trail ships, it makes the alliance's response very clear. The problem is that a strong NATO response could lead to an escalation in the Baltic Sea, where the Russians and Chinese have essentially had no adversaries so far. This could lead to encounters similar to those in the South China Sea. There, hostile ships often ram each other. Russia will use other countries to make sure that they do not show up in the Baltic Sea directly in these emergency situations. It won't be Russian soldiers or sailors. It will be people from other countries, so that, on the one hand, they can wash their hands of any wrongdoing, and on the other hand, they can fuel international strife. NATO is testing Russia's response now because now its naval capabilities are severely limited, and that could give the alliance a big enough advantage to completely eliminate the Russian menace from the Baltic.
These scenes look like something out of a disaster movie, but this is real, as residents of Los Angeles' upscale Pacific Palisades neighborhood can attest. The City of Angels is ablaze. The California coastline from Malibu to Santa Monica is in flames, and desperate firefighters are failing to extinguish the flames.
Women's handbags?
We are running out of water, said Gavin Newsom, Democratic governor of California, a state that borders the Pacific Ocean.
What in the world?
It's very sad because I've been trying to get Gavin Newsom to allow water to come. You'd have tremendous water up there. They send it out to the Pacific because they're trying to protect a tiny little fish, which is in other areas, by the way.
That's why Donald Trump is calling for the governor of California to resign. And a close associate of the president-elect, billionaire inventor Elon Musk, is pointing out that the state and city are run by Democrats who have put safety issues on the back burner. Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass has slashed funding for the fire department, instead promoting left-wing ideological projects among city officials and employees. The fire department has not been operating optimally due to massive understaffing and obvious underfunding because the money has simply been allocated elsewhere. They're not getting away with it this time because this is not just a California problem. It is a problem in many other areas of the United States, where indeed similar policies have wreaked havoc in many local communities. Firefighters warned that in a fire-prone area like California, cutting their funding was begging for disaster. Today, we see the results of putting leftist ideological projects ahead of safety. When asked about her disastrous decisions, the mayor of Los Angeles could not even utter the words, "I'm sorry."
Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today? Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today?
Fires in this part of California are nothing new. Many homes could be saved, but the dedication of the firefighters alone will not extinguish the flames.
They ran out of water from the lines here, but they also don't have water in their trucks, and so they have been setting up pumps that go from the pools in the neighbors on either side of this house, and they've just been trying to keep it down.
A wave of criticism is falling on the city's mayor, governor, and even President Joe Biden, who supported left-wing policies. But it's all too late now. Homes, cars, streets, and parks are being consumed by fire, and the situation is only getting worse. Left-wing organizations, both in the United States and the European Union, are often guided in public policy by ideology rather than reason. As a result, huge amounts of money are spent on ideological projects at the expense of basic infrastructure needs related to security, including strategic security. California has been a Democratic bastion for years, being a shining beacon of the effects of leftist policies. Skimping on security always ends in tragedy.
Midnight is approaching. We are in the vicinity of Pacific Palisades. The paradox in this situation is that the ocean is there, and you can hear the sound of the waves. Here is the road, and here behind my back, there's a wall of fire. We are driving to the center of Pacific Palisades. After a police check, we arrive at our destination. And it's hard to believe that just 2 days ago, this was one of the most luxurious neighborhoods in Los Angeles.
I think this is just devastating, and this is first time happening in here, and it seems like a little bit unusual in winter times, but I'm feeling a little bit, frustration for the families who are suffering in here, living with their children, and it's not something I wish to happen to anybody.
Firefighters are letting us join the firefighting operation.
No water on the hydrant. The plan is to, the chief wants some foam for structural protection, try to save this house next to the
On the right is the house that survived. Literally 3 meters to the left is the neighbor's house, which has completely burned down. The firefighters don't want to speak into the cameras, but they tell us that very difficult days are ahead of them. The situation is bad, firefighters admit. The wind is blowing the whole time. It is dry. There are not enough firefighters, and there is no water in the fire hydrants. Therefore, right now, the priority of firefighters is first of all evacuation and saving lives. Saving property will come later, as indeed the situation is getting worse. Looking at the strength and size of the fires, it is almost a miracle that there are relatively few casualties, especially since the elements took everyone by surprise here. The wind, reaching gusts of up to 160 kilometers per hour, instantly carried sparks to the dried-out soil. Here, at every turn, one can see with what momentum and surprise the fire has started. Dozens of people parked their cars on this wide road, believing it would be safe. All it took was for the wind to blow from another direction, and look what was left of those cars. After a few hours, we leave Pacific Palisades, also known as the Celebrity District. As we leave, we witness a new house fire and more fire trucks heading to the scene. From Pacific Palisades, California, Rafał Stańczyk, Republica.